Welcome to another episode of Touchline Hotspur. Got a lovely cast here with us today and a lot of content. Got 2 games to go through. What is it? 7 goals, I think it was in total. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a sec. How you doing, Tops? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, brother. Good. Bit of a mixed week. They cooked me up nice and well yesterday on the Discord. But,
I tuned into some of that still.
I'm here, brother. I'm here. What can I say, man? I'm here.
Still here. Come on, holding your own.
Yeah, man.
Teacher, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, man. There's a lot of emotions going through me at the moment. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just doing my best to try and stay grounded, try and stay calm, try and stay composed. But good to be here all the same.
Good to see you, man. I'm doing my best, like Ancelotti impression with the teacup today. Sai, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. Had a shave before the pod, you know, just the usual vibes shining on them.
Come on.
But yeah, man, we'll get into the real shits today, man.
Cool. And Owen, how you doing, bro?
Not too bad. I have to front out what's going to be quite a shaggy trim, but yeah, I'm all good, man. I'm all good.
Cool. I think today we should probably jump in right at the deep end. I'm thinking Spurs West Brom, Spurs 2-0. Like, let's start there. I think we were coming off the back of some, let's say, dodgy results. So going into this one, there was a bit of animosity. Sai, do you want to take us into this game?
Yeah, so we were coming off 3 consecutive losses, which is pretty shabby form if you ask me. Obviously, we needed the win. There was a lot of chatter before the game of whether or not this was going to be potentially the sword that Mourinho died on. And obviously, we managed to weather that storm a little bit.
Wait. Before you continue, though, did anyone here believe we was going to lose? I need to actually know, though.
I didn't believe we were going to lose, but
Nah, I would have been disappointed to lose that.
I would have been disappointed. Sam Allardyce.
Yeah.
Nah, I didn't want to see it.
I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, part of me wanted to see what the fallout was gonna be. I can't lie. if the agenda is gonna go, the agenda is gonna go. Do you get me?
I hear that still.
But yeah, for the most part, there was a little bit of Tinkerman at the back. You had Sanchez coming back into the side after Dyer's performance prior. We saw Lamela and Lucas Moura come back into the team after their little cameo that sort of pushed a lot of debate as to whether or not they needed to be starting.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the main man, Harry Kane, cheese string ankles back into the side as well, albeit prematurely. So yeah, it was a changed side, and we saw the results of that on the pitch.
Do you guys think Mourinho told Kane, like, come on, like, bro, it's life or death right now. Like, I need you on the pitch. I don't know how Kane got back on the pitch so fast. Like, to me, it feels rushed. I don't know. Like, when you saw the injury, like, what did you think? What did you think was happening? How long did you think Kane would be out for?
boy, I mean, it didn't look great. I mean, they were saying it was both of his ankles, not just the one, which sounded like double jeopardy to me. So usually he's out on average for at least 3 to 4 weeks. So I was thinking at least that. So like he come into the side today, he was rushed back, but I mean, we needed him. I thought he looked quite rusty in the first half as well, but it was one of those. Lamela at a 10, I was surprisingly impressed with as well. So I think straight away, I think even the biggest Lamela detractors will admit, like, coming off the back of 3 losses, if you need someone to give you at least a little bit of oomph and urgency, bring him into the team. And I was all for it. And straight away, to be fair, he made us a much more cohesive unit, just purely off his presence. Kane, he looked like he'd been rested and hungry, but he didn't look too sharp. Like he was dropping deep quite a few times to get us playing. He lost the ball most of the time. But again, it's like that Bruno Fernandes effect. At least he was actually trying and get us going. Yeah. And there was quite a few chances created for him in the first half through obviously good play from us. Like Lamela gave us that drive where we were able to like sustain pressure. Mm-hmm. And I think he epitomized the team playing better and just getting braver to play on the front foot. Although I thought to be fair, West Brom were cowards. Sam Allardyce overcompensated. He invited way too much pressure on that he needed. So I thought we were there to be got at, especially with the new centre-back partnership, which it's not new, but we changed it again. I thought like he could have at least got his team to play on the front foot more against us to test us a bit. But we were creating chance after chance. Even Lamela created a great chance for Kane. Aurier created a great chance for Kane. I would like a few people were arguing to say they weren't clear-cut chances. To me, I felt like they were clear-cut for Kane. Mm-hmm. But again, like even though they were both, at least two of them were on his left foot, and he spread it wide, he would have wanted to do better. But again, like even though we went into half-time at 0-0, I was confident we would go on to get a result coming into the second half.
Yeah, I think. I was a little bit disappointed with some of the Kane shots, just because like we've seen Kane score them, and I came into the game with that sort of animosity as well, just thinking like, is it too early for him, that kind of thing. So there was that feeling. I think. I mean, Tops, take us forward on Ndombele. What's Ndombele looking like in the West Brom match? On mute, bro.
Sorry, bro. I think he's doing all right. I think like he got another 90 under his belt. Mourinho obviously against a bit of an inferior sort of opposition decided to go with him as a 2 alongside very impressive Højbjerg, which I thought was good. No, I thought he done well. Put himself about, got himself into decent areas throughout the game. But again, like 90 against a midfield of Snodgrass and Romain Sawyers, I'm not really writing home about, if I'm honest. But you know, at the end of the day, man, 90 minutes under his belt and a win, I'm here for it, bro.
I can't lie, man. You're playing Arsenal right backs in your midfield. Deserve to lose, man. Teacher. Before we get into the next game, man, tell me what you thought of the Sanchez and Toby partnership. Like, what were you thinking seeing that?
It worked better than I expected it to. Is probably how I'd start that off. There were times where defensively, you know, we were letting people through on goal, which perhaps could have been avoidable. But ultimately, to keep a clean sheet, you've always got to walk away from that with your head held high. Especially, you know, against Sam Allardyce's teams who are known for grinding out a result one way or another. I thought it was a good opportunity for Sanchez to not shit the bed, and to be fair, he didn't. With sort of Eric Dyer seemingly frozen out for the time being, he grabbed the opportunity by both hands, to be fair to him.
Listen. You see Sanchez, both hands. Yeah. So, no, not even to cut you off, but I clocked something with Sanchez. Yeah, he's got a new defending technique in that game. Yeah. He was just grabbing Donny and throwing him offside, bro. That's what he was doing.
Oh yeah.
Throwing him offside. Like I was laughing, but
I rated that though.
That's what I'm saying.
I rated that because he made sure that he was offside. He nudged him in the back. He kept on the right side of the pitch. So I give him his credit there. And to be fair, he's got a lot to prove, hasn't he, Sanchez? Because he doesn't look like the favourite for Mourinho. But one thing I think we're seeing more and more now is Mourinho is rotating the squad. He's making it very clear that if you fuck up, you're going to lose your position. And I think that's a good situation to be in personally, because I think it means if managed correctly, then everyone plays to the best of their potential. But on the flip side, if managed incorrectly, then no one plays well and no one gets any consistency. and then we just got a team that don't know who's playing. So it could go either way, but hopefully it goes the right way for us. But yeah, Sanchez and
Oliveira the wrong way for a while now. Like I think that's why our form has been so spotty. Is there's very limited continuity, especially at the back. It's like all it takes is one mistake, and then he's pulling man and putting in next man in his position. Like we've seen Sissoko deputise at right back instead of just playing your recognised fullbacks because of mistakes and stuff like that. So I don't know, man. It's negatively affected us up until this point. Hopefully it improves. Hopefully there is some sort of partnership built at the back, because we can't continue being so woeful, man. And obviously this particular game we didn't concede, but mate, it was still a couple shaky moments.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting as well, like what the whole Aurier situation is with Mourinho. Like, is everything okay? Doherty came in, had that little cameo. Still don't think it was anything amazing at the time, but good to see. Just good to see the guys getting some minutes, man. And then he started the next match, I think, which was the Everton game in the League Cup.
FA Cup.
FA Cup, sorry, yeah, FA Cup. And yeah, we've gone into that game. I think we played a really strong side. We've got I think Doherty started, had the same back to Sanchez, Alderweireld. You had Ben Davis left back, the midfield, and Ndombele, Højbjerg. And then it was Lamela, Moura again, right? And Kane.
No, Kane.
Yeah?
Kane didn't start.
Lamela, Moura, Bergwijn.
Bergwijn, sorry. Lamela, Moura, Bergwijn's son. That's the one. So, yeah. And I think Everton played a really strong side as well. So going into that game, teacher, like, how are you thinking? How are you feeling
about the formation? Yeah, I mean, the question is Kane going to play? That's always the first question whenever I see a team put out by Mourinho, and he didn't play him. So that I don't know. You're asking yourself, did we rush Kane back for the West Brom game if that's the case? Boy, do you know what? I thought we started well. We looked bright for the first 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes even. And, we saw set pieces go away, which is something I hadn't seen in a long time. But it just seemed like at one stage, we lost control and just kept trying to regain it, but ultimately couldn't. And I feel as if Lamela played excellent. Lamela played a good game. We've been crying out for someone in the middle of the park to be creative and to be that link-up player, and we had that. But then on the flip side, what we didn't have is that sturdy Harry Kane to finish it all off. Son let me down a little bit, to be fair. I think, from what I expect of him, I expected a better performance. Bergwijn, he always looks like he's active. He always looks like he's doing the right thing, but I just don't see the results that we need. Whenever he's in front of goal, I feel like his confidence just leaves him. Højbjerg did not play at the level that I've seen him play at. I have to say it. I felt, what he's known for, which is, breaking down play and stopping people from making those advanced runs and just being a general disruptor. Well, I mean, we conceded 5 goals, so I mean, it's hard to give him that, but he didn't. By his own admission, he didn't play to the level that we've known him for. Ndombele didn't play particularly well either, to be fair to him. He was average. Do you know what? To be fair, it was an average performance by most of us, barring Sanchez, because he got 2 goals off the set piece. But at the same time, you can't really give him credit. You can't give him credit.
You can't give him credit.
5 goals.
Yeah, when you concede 5,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You don't get nothing, bro.
Trust me.
You just can't. So
Not hearing
it was disappointing because it means a lot to us as Spurs. Like, we're always banging on about how badly we need a trophy. We've got an opportunity here to progress, and we fucked it. We come up against the Everton side, who man for man ain't better than us. But they beat us, and they look better doing it as well. To be fair, they ultimately the better team won on the day. So just got to put your hands up and say it was an L.
The way I see it, we got bodied. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like we got bodied, and we got bodied Like, if there was an eyewitness, the eyewitness would have said, "Boy, I saw them let off 3 just before half time." You get me? You get me? When he tried to bust back, but you get me? You might hit him, you might even hit him, but boy, he's not looking good right now. That's what they would have said, innit? And I think we'd be doing ourselves an injustice here if we don't get an inquiry going into like what happened in that match, innit? Because I don't see how you score 4 goals and concede 5.
No, man, like, like I said yesterday on Discord, like, I've never been a fan of like these cricket type scores. I feel like it's like a negative sort of showing from both sides. I've always been of the mentality that if you go away from home and you have to concede 3 or 4 goals, you don't really deserve to win the game. But I do feel like there was aspects of our game yesterday that I was quite impressed with. It was just the boneheaded, brain farty nature, whereby, you know, some of our defensive players seem to want to give away lots of these individual errors, and these are the ones that continually just bite us in the arse. Like yesterday, we had 29 shots. We had, I think 12 or 13 on target. Yeah. I think I saw a stat today on Twitter, like the XG was like triple of what Everton's was. So Everton, if you look at it from another perspective, were extremely clinical. They took pretty much all the chances that basically befell them. And we were very poor in front of goal. But then it still doesn't take away from the fact that we conceded 5 goals, man, in a single game. And in my opinion, I think Teacher was very right. I thought Lamela played very well. I thought there was very good like combination play between our front 4. I thought that they all played sort of their part. Kane come on, got his goals. You know, Son was good in parts. But again, we just constantly seem to let ourselves down with these individual errors and just shoot ourselves in the foot. There's a couple of players that I don't think.
No, let's hone in on some of these errors. Let's hone in on some of these errors, Tops.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I think we might have to start naming names, and I want to start. I want to start personally at number 1. Yeah, see, size on my wavelength right now. You got to start at number 1, Si. Come.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute since like I've had to really think. Did Lloris, was he taking a couple swigs from his flask in the lead up to the game? I know he's probably still not allowed to drive yet, so he wasn't drink driving, so we'll give him a ride there. But I'm pretty certain that he had a couple swigs because man was moving very, very, very waved and not in the right way. He got a hand to at least 3 of those goals, right? And I know it is a little bit harsh to say if a keeper gets a hand to it, then he should save it. There are certain circumstances where that's not the case. But the first goal was literally right down his throat. And he's just palmed it into the net.
Is that the Calvert-Lewin one?
Yeah, exactly. And up until that point, as Tops alluded to, like the interplay that we had between our front 4 was crisp. It had a bit of tempo to it. We looked dangerous. We got our goal. But lo and behold, a couple minutes later, we're conceding. So it's the same old shit, to be perfectly honest, man. Like, when we do play well, when we are in the ascendancy, people either lose their heads or just make these sort of unmitigated errors, and it puts us 3 steps back. And it's been this way all season. And whether it's a mentality thing, whether it's just rotten luck, who the fuck knows? But at this point, somebody's got to start being accountable. And on this occasion, it's got to be Hugo.
No, I think I can definitely agree with that. Like,
would we say the Viking is blameless for the first goal though? Because I would say that heavy touch in the position he did, like he took some heavy touch on the left channel. He just didn't see the core right there. And even if he had just had a tidy first touch, he wouldn't have lost the ball. He wouldn't have been dispossessed. But once he took that touch in front of him, the core was just onto him. And then just played that ball through. I think if we're gonna blame which we are likely to blame a certain someone for the 5th goal, then and I'm sure we'll get onto that
We'll get there.
if I don't have too much of a repressed memory. I think Højbjerg was the root cause of that first goal, purely from taking that bad of a touch in that position.
Is it fair to say, if we're saying Lloris was probably the worst player on the pitch that day, is it fair to say Højbjerg was the second worst?
I would say so, because
we're just talking about before extra time, by the way. Just the 90 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Just the 90 minutes.
Extra time.
We'll get there.
I don't recall extra time.
Man, the lights are being shone on certain man. Let's just say that, man.
The thing about Højbjerg's game in general, like his style of play, leaves a lot to be desired for me as someone who likes disciplined, like defensive midfielders, if you like. He's not that. He is literally like your sort of box to box disruptor type guy, and that puts a lot of pressure on guys like Ndombele to find defensive positions to cover, and that's not his strength. So that dynamic in midfield still needs a little bit of work, and it will only come through repetition. But when it doesn't go right for guys like Højbjerg, the spotlight is just very, very, very bright. Like you're looking at like the brightest LEDs for that type of shit. Because
4K HD.
If you miss that first tackle, every action after that just makes you look like you're so much further out of position. And that was the case all game. He just looked like he was a mile away from the plate at all times.
Definitely saw that. And then, so I mean, like it got like, regardless of which of the two we blame the most, I think they're both to blame for the first one. And then I think you could say the whole team dropped their heads a little bit after this, and it got a bit sickening for the next 5 minutes until I think we made this point when we were talking about the West Brom match. Like Lamela did kind of like try to rile the guys up a bit more, if you get what I mean. Like he's one of them, just that fiery kind of presence kind of thing. And that was something we needed at that time, because I feel like heads were down. If Lamela didn't get that goal before halftime, it could have got embarrassing. Seriously, could have got embarrassing, man.
Even more embarrassing.
Much more embarrassing. But you know what? I'll be honest. At this point, I still didn't think we were gonna lose. I can't remember who was saying in the chat as well. Like, don't worry, we're gonna smash them. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I probably don't respect Everton enough in it. Like, I remember even in the first match of the season when we played them, I thought we would smash them that day as well. Like, I'm probably not giving them enough respect. But I feel like if you take away the mistakes, individual mistake goals, I feel like we've done enough to win this game. And that's why I wanted to go so much in detail and like, do you get what I mean? Like talk about certain individuals, because I think there were so many opportunities to win this game.
Yeah,
I could even go
because sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
I thought in the lead up to the first goal, just before that, I was thinking to myself, watching it, I was like, we're actually showing a really, really good degree of control here, because we kind of went back to the kind of principles which saw us scoring a lot of goals, but still holding a kind of somewhat deeper line. We could kind of play that like kind of clever style under Mourinho and still score goals. There was actually a plan of attack, and even while we were 1-0 up, we still let the more likely team to score. So that was the frustrating thing. Just going to the second goal as well, like if we're doing an inquest to all of them, like there was a bad reaction to a bad clearance. I think it was from Sanchez. He kind of just headed it into the middle of the pitch, and they were just much better at getting to those second balls whenever we did have ball clearances. However he done it, Richarlison managed to squeeze a shot from the edge of the area through Alderweireld's legs. And I wanted to touch on the penalty as well, because for some reason there was quite a lot of debate amongst the punditry where I didn't feel like that was a penalty at all. Like I felt Højbjerg had a bad game overall, but he got very unlucky with that penalty. So when I actually went down to to make a quick coffee when it was 1-1. I came back up and Sigurdsson's lining up to take a penalty to make it 3-1, and I see the replay, and that's when my head started to get hot. But yeah, like I thought the decision to award that penalty to make it a kind of unjustified scoreline that Lamela actually did very well to save in the end. It was unjustified. Like I just don't feel like that was a penalty at all. I just don't think he sees Calvert-Lewin there. I think Calvert-Lewin's done well to win the penalty. He's felt that bit of contact and gone over. Fair play. That the game is the game, but again, I just think there's no way that was a penalty.
Anywhere else on the pitch, I don't even think it gets called as a foul, to be honest.
No,
it's just it was just the momentum of the game. It was just going that kind of way, and like Sai said, man, when you miss those tackles and you're under the spotlight, you know what I mean?
100%, mate.
Yeah, man. We just I don't know.
That was a harsh moment. I think from there it just went downhill for him. It just started to snowball, and obviously he just couldn't find any sort of solace out of the rest of the game. Pretty much, like after that, you could just tell he couldn't really just turn it back.
Yeah. Wait, did we talk about Alderweireld getting nutmegged yet?
For the second goal.
You mentioned it briefly.
Oh,
I don't know, man. We've seen this though. Like, you know, he's never been a front foot kind of defender. He's always been someone that's more than happy to. He's happy to shadow you and to jockey you, and when he needs to make a tackle, he will. And I suppose that was Vertonghen's sort of strength alongside him. He always used to be the front foot defender, would put his body on the line, wouldn't allow the attacker to make a decision for him, you know. And that in that position, you know, I'm looking at Richarlison. Richarlison's not going to hit it on his left. He's just going to try and find any little pocket of space and pop off. And Alderweireld, hands behind his back, as we always know he does, doesn't put any pressure on Richarlison. And, you know, all of a sudden we're 2-1 down. I mean, I can't say any more on this defence, man. I just can't. I just so disappointed at the moment. I feel like games like this, you can see our defence fully implode. You know, in those few moments with regards to the goal, the first goal, you kind of lose the confidence from the keeper. Then you have the mistake from the Richarlison goal, and then all of a sudden we're conceding a penalty. And you can understand, yes, it would be easy for players' heads to just go down, but then you want someone to sort of pull these guys through and be like, literally, continue. But time and time again, and we keep talking about it, and I know it's like, probably sounds so repetitive, but we can't keep giving these guys excuses, because there seems to be every single week we're conceding goals, and there's every single week it's an individual error. And I just don't think it's acceptable, man. Like, I don't know, maybe people are not giving, like, Mourinho a bit of credit, because he probably saw this. And, I don't know, in a bigger picture, we might be looking at him and saying, if he had the defenders that he wanted, we would be playing in a certain way that he wanted. But because he clearly can see that the defence is not strong enough, the personnel we have to boot isn't strong enough, he can't effectively allow the players to do what he probably maybe would want them to do, you know?
I think, yeah. I think it's definitely between the two somewhere. It's just I don't know how far it sits to either side, if you get what I mean. Just to like kind of wrap up the game, I think the next goal was Sanchez again. But I can't remember it.
It was Sigurdsson.
Yeah, just after Kane came on.
Found it, and then he's done a reverse ball over Davinson Sanchez. Davinson Sanchez has left Richarlison to his right, and then Richarlison has hit it into the far post across Luis to make it 4-2. Yeah,
it was a good finish. It was a good finish.
Yeah.
Pretty
Can I
much
add more? Whilst we're talking about how disappointed in people we are, I need to say this. I need to get this off my chest. For a long time, I've been calling for my boy Dels, you know. For a long time, I've been saying, bring Dele on, let him play in that number 10 role, let him be that creative force that we've been lacking, that we've been needing, let him be that link-up guy. He came on and was completely just ghost. I didn't see him. He had no influence on the game. To be fair, there was he I'm gonna say his positioning was okay. but no one fed him. There was one opportunity that he had in the box where Kane should have passed, but he went for goal as Kane typically does. And beyond that, I didn't see him have any influence in the game at all. And I was so disappointed in him because I love Dele Alli. I think he's awesome. But, you know, for someone who really needs to be grabbing games by the fucking neck and telling Mourinho, listen, you need to play me, mate, he did his cause no justice whatsoever.
Yeah, I fully agree, man. Is there anyone who disagrees?
No, it's not like again. I'm a big fan of Dele.
Yeah,
I just like yesterday. I don't know, when I saw him come on, I felt he was largely anonymous. Didn't really get into any positions I kind of was hoping him to. But one thing I did find was that he was sort of playing in a role a bit further than what he usually does. And I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but when he came on, there was a lot of crosses from our flank sort of areas, and we just kept flying crosses in. I don't know, maybe in hope of finding him. There was a lot of times Kane really wasn't in and around the box, probably in like deeper positions, and I felt that maybe he was trying to use the fact that Dele does like making them sort of second man runs, like off the back of the defenders. But as you said, Teach, man, it didn't work yesterday. He almost looked as if he was in a team of players that he doesn't really know. And admittedly so, man, because Sai always says about, this is a guy who's been playing with certain guys consistently for years. So for him to come in and play with players that he doesn't play with regularly, in a team that he doesn't play regularly, you can't really expect him to suddenly come on and change the game like dramatically, you know, like he's probably just happy to be playing in the first place, you know, like.
I just think in a game like that, where there's been so many goals flying left, right, and centre, it is difficult for you to put on like a midfield player. I'd class him as, in this particular system, it's hard for them to really get into the game and just change it, unless you're someone like Lamela who's just a little bit headless and you run around, you foul people from the wrong side, you retrieve the ball, and then you sort of jockey, ball roll, and like just hit hopeful balls. Like, Dele's game is a lot more methodical than that. So it is more about space and running into interesting positions and combining with other players. We had no control over that game at that point. So for me, it was like a foregone conclusion. It's another one of those situations where if you're expecting a player to show their worth, maybe give them a start here and there. Maybe put the system in place for them to flourish, as opposed to just going, all right, young'un, do your thing, hope for the best, see you later, chap. Like, it's not going to work. We know what Dele needs at this point. He's not getting it. It's up to him and the club to figure out the best way to get him into form, or get a little bit of return value for him so he doesn't just peter out into a Jesse Lingard or some bullshit like that.
Well, speaking of what Dele needs, Mourinho's next two substitutions were just the icing on the cake, to be honest. So
He doesn't need Sissoko on the fucking flank, that's for sure.
And you know what? Like, I know he played a small part in what happened in this game, but I mean, Sissoko, man, like, sometimes I really wonder, where's this guy's head at? Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the clips going around, like on, I think I put in the group actually, of Sissoko, like hiding from the other players. Like, he doesn't want people to be able to pass him the ball. Like, he's acting like he's marking strikers, standing in their shadow so Lloris can't pass to him and things like that. Like, it's getting pathetic, man. It's like, I don't know if that's part of the whole thing. Like, it feels like the team are not playing for each other. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. There was a point when Sissoko first came where people were like really disappointed in him. And then I feel like he made a change. He made a serious change under Pochettino. And there was a time where I felt like Sissoko was the most available player on the pitch, regardless of who we were playing. Like, if he didn't have the ball, he wanted the ball. He was moving always. He was always available. He was almost playing a bit like more like a box-to-box player than he plays now. But yeah, now I just started on Sissoko because I know where we're heading after this. But
Let's just call it a spade a spade. Like
Let's get into
Harry
it.
Winks and Musa Sissoko's best spell in the team was when we literally had nothing else. They managed to form a partnership. That partnership played a part in us getting to a Champions League final. Cool. That's a part of history. That will be how they're remembered from a positive standpoint. Since then, though, it's been a bit sticky. And the main reason for that is Musa Sissoko, if you ask me. You can't be a centre midfielder who can't play a forward pass. You can't be a centre midfielder who shades his body only to their dominant side. You can't be a centre midfielder who can't basically move fluidly to get out of a tight situation. He's not a centre midfielder. You can't be a right back if you're not willing to receive the ball. You can't be a right back if you're not willing to beat a man one-on-one. You can't be a right back if you can't cross. You can't be a right back if you can't defend. So what the fuck is this guy's position at this point? He's not a centre midfielder. He's not a right back. But those are the two positions we find him in every flipping game. And it's getting tedious. It's getting really, really tedious. And for me, like, the question got posed as to whether or not we want to see like more of Doherty, or do we regret getting rid of Kyle Walker-Peters? And I'm just saying, like, Serge Aurier is the only person on that right-hand side that does anything worth even mentioning in games. Doherty's always anonymous. Sissoko's fucking anonymous. Like, both of them at this point are on that borrowed time type of vibe.
yeah.
It's a little bit harsh on Doherty, but at the same time, he got brought in to challenge for that first starting spot, and he's not done it yet.
Nope, he hasn't, bro. He hasn't, bro.
No, he's turned into a bit of a utility man now. And I'd say a bit. That's not even mince my words. He's turned into a utility man now. But before we do break down the fifth goal, like, I wanted to get your guys' opinion on the fourth goal, because I think a lot of people turned to Sanchez as the error for the fourth goal, and it was another time where we looked like we were showing like fairly decent control and looking like the more likely team to score. And it was again like a kind of poor clearance which came back into our area. We were slow to react, and then Richarlison gets the ball in the edge of the box. Now Sanchez looked to me at first like he was quite slow to react, and then Richarlison just ran in behind him, and it was actually a very good finish from Richarlison, I have to say. But when I looked at it a few more times, like, I see Sanchez at least holding the line. He's in line with the rest of the defenders, and it was fair play. And Toby Alderweireld's doing what Harry Maguire got slated for intensely against Everton. He's about 2 or 3 yards behind the line, playing him onside. And I don't know, I'd say that was more, it was mostly a miscommunication, between the two centre-backs, in my opinion. And probably, I'd say, if you believe in the whole defenders should hold the line, and that should be like the priority thing for them to do in that situation, and I am a believer in that, then I'd say Toby was more at fault than Sanchez. But again, it's mostly down to miscommunication, I think. But at the end of the day, I wanted to get your guys' opinion on that as well.
I mean, I'll go if no one else will, because I got a lot to say about Toby at this point. Like, a lot gets made about Eric Dyer's mistakes and all of this shit, but I've been saying it all year. Eric Dyer stands as our best centre-back currently at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. It's very, very simple. There's more to defending than just making last-ditch tackles and looking glamorous on the ball. And at this point, Toby's even struggling to do those things. Like, during the time where Vertonghen was there, me personally, I felt like he carried that partnership. Like, you could pair Jan Vertonghen with any other centre back in a Tottenham shirt, whether it was Yunus Kabul or fucking shit. You could have paired him with Michael Dawson and he would have looked fucking brilliant.
Sanchez misses him as well.
Precisely. It's like, no matter who the partner was, Vertonghen always stood as a pillar of our defense. No one can sit there and tell me that the same can be said about Toby. And when you are in your 30s that should be the bare minimum of what you're doing, is instructing your right back where to go if you're playing on the right hand side, your left back if you're playing on the left, telling your defensive midfielder where to be, actually communicating with your centre back partner. This guy does not open his mouth. You can see him after mistakes going. He's just sort of
This
like,
is a good point. I was hoping you'd touch on this as well, because I just remembered he was looking right across the line as well when he was dropping deeper. And then after they scored, him and Ben Davis, like, I didn't see Toby or Sanchez say a word to each other immediately after the goal. It was more like, oh, shit. And then Toby and Ben Davis are pleading with the referee, like asking him to check VAR for offside. I'm like, brother, you were looking across the line. You were looking directly across the line. You chose to drop deeper, and now you're throwing your arms up and not taking accountability. So, yeah, it is quite telling. Like, I chop and change my mind who is our best centre back on almost a daily basis, but like it's so evident now. Like I didn't realise it until Jan left, like how void like Toby Alderweireld's leadership skills are. They are just non-existent. It's insane.
It's fallen off a cliff, really. Like, his form has completely fallen off a cliff. I mean, I don't know whether it's about the age thing or just after signing his contract, but I mean, he's no longer the player that we once trusted. I think about when he doesn't play, and I think, okay, we need to get him back in the team. And then he plays like he did last night, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is just deadwood now. We're just holding on to this for no reason, to be honest with you. Like, in my opinion, I say it's arguable that we get rid of three centre half this summer. I wouldn't be averse to getting rid of at least three of them, because.
And then Ben Davis will play left centre back.
It's just because, like, at least I see some potential and youth in Tanganga, even though he hasn't played. I see some potential and youth in Joe Rodon. I feel like a year out for Foyth could be something that we could maybe look at, but I just feel like now the damage has been done. And it's been redone for Alderweireld, Sanchez, and Eric Dyer. And I just feel like the writing's on the wall for all three of them, because the fact that Mourinho can't find a centre-back pairing out of three of those who are fully fledged internationals in the Premier League worries me. It properly worries me.
Yeah, I must admit, I will say an apology. Last week, we had a very short debate, and I was going on about Alderweireld being our best centre-back. But he's proved himself as not. So, do you know what it is? Yeah, we're not blessed with centre backs, so it's
not much in it.
We're not. So it's a fair debate, but yeah, he really let me down. I mean, it's so difficult to come out here and say Toby is still one of our best centre backs when he puts in a performance like that. He looked lost the whole game. And I mean, to concede 5 against a side who are average, it's like. At home, and then you can't consider Toby to be the talisman if he's allowing that to happen. And those comments regarding Vertonghen being the one that sort of glued us all together is so true, alarmingly so as well. I mean, I've still got stocks in Sanchez though. I know he's not popular on his pod, but I've still got stocks in Sanchez. I wonder if one day somehow Sanchez and Dyer can have a combination that works. I think. If we're gonna,
I've seen glimpses of it.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the maddest thing.
If we're gonna see a future,
sorry, Teach. Do you trust them? Because, like, the thing about defense you see is that, like, I always think there's like one or two factors that you need to take into account. You need to be able to trust that, one, they trust each other, and two, each individual trusts his ability to do what he can do. So if we look in the past, I always trusted in Toby's ability to make very good passes. I trusted in Vertonghen's ability to be able to be on the front foot as a defender. And I trusted, because they were both Belgian and playing regularly together, that they could play together. Do you trust Sanchez? Do you trust Dyer? Do you think that they can actually positively work as a defensive pairing for Tottenham?
I trust that partnership more than I trust any partnership that involves Toby Alderweireld. And I will say that with pure confidence, because Eric Dyer is going to shout when somebody needs to get back and help. He is at least going to communicate on a basic level as a professional centre back. Like, he's going to do that. And as has already been stated, when Sanchez played next to somebody who was a communicator in Jan Vertonghen, you saw him play to a level that was befitting of a Premier League centre back. So I would trust that combination of players with that combination of skill set to be more solid at the back than a guy who's going to do his work. Toby's always going to do his work, but when he makes mistakes, nobody knows when to cover for him because he's just gone about his business. Yeah. When they make a mistake in front of him, he doesn't go back and cover their space. He just gets on with his business. Like, he's very much an individual at the back. Like, and it doesn't make him a bad player. I'm a massive fan of what he's done over the course of his career, but at this stage in time, he is the weak link in the partnerships of what we have at our disposal. And it might sound crazy, but the proof is in the pudding. He is the most experienced, but when he plays, we look progressively worse.
No, I hear that. Sorry, Teach.
No, you're both right, man. I mean, it's dire, excuse the pun. We need to sort it out, and we need to sort it out fast. The issue with Sanchez and Dyer being a pairing is that's going to take at least a season to get right, and we don't have that time. So it means that we look to the transfer window to make a difference again. And then you got to ask yourself, does Rondon still hold stocks with us? What did he come here to do? I don't know. I mean, maybe we need to change it and just do this 3 at the back thing long term and see how that works. But right now, as a recognised back four, we're not in a position where we can challenge for anything.
I think. Did we touch on Winks? I can't even remember. I might just be vexed to be trying to touch on him again.
No, we haven't touched on him.
We haven't touched on him yet. Cool. Let's load up. Let's set the scene. So, it's been a crazy match. You've heard the last half an hour or so of what we've been talking about. So it's been a crazy match. I think Sai, you actually set the scene quite nicely. So Dele Alli's on the pitch. It's not looking great. We haven't got any control of the pitch. And what Dele needs right now, what the whole team needs, I guess, is a bit of control. So Mourinho is trying to give us what we need. And he brings on Harry Winks. Owen, I'm sorry to draw you out, but you gotta give me the mindset of Mourinho. What's he thinking at this moment?
Well, I believe Ndombele had a knock. And he needs a rest as well because he's such a key player for the Man City game. We're ultimately not going to progress the ball against Man City unless we have Ndombele, let's be honest. So I don't know what the results or the outcome was of that knock, but it was said that he went off injured and Winks came on for some fresh legs to carry on exerting control. That was the purpose of the substitute anyway. After that, I don't remember anything. So I plead the fifth to anything else. And I'm going to be ordering my FA Cup 6th round key ring after we get off the podcast. And I'm gonna be a happy boy.
I mean,
that's my plan.
Like, I know he's your boy, Si, but boy, oh boy, he looks done, man. He looks done out here, bro.
No, you're going all head first.
No,
man.
he looks done out here, man. Like, the reason I say so is because, like, for a player who has now really become a squad player, I just feel like the drop in his level from what he once was to the level that he's playing now is like, it's quite significant. And the one thing that I always used to like about him was that he used to have some redeeming qualities about his game. Very good technically, very good at keeping the ball retention, and he used to put it about a bit. But these aspects of his game that we used to recognise him for, this is a guy who's played more than 100 games for Spurs. He's Tottenham through and through. I just don't see it in him anymore. And unfortunately, like, in the maddest of events, his half an hour was probably one of the worst half an hours I've seen any Tottenham player play this season. Like, it was terrible. And it was weird because not even for the mistake where he took a heavy touch, which preceded the goal that was conceded, the 5th goal. But I watched him in that sort of extra time, and there were lots of different times that simple things he just wasn't getting right. He was being muscled off the ball. He was making incorrect decisions in terms of his passing. He just didn't seem at the races, and it seemed very frustrating because this is someone who had come on fresh at the 90th minute, and he didn't cover himself in any glory. And like, to be honest with you, it's frustrating because like you have a different sort of issue with Sissoko, but I just don't know where Harry Winks goes as a Tottenham player. I look at him and I just think, where do you go from here as a Tottenham player?
All right, so seeing as you drew me out a little bit there, I'll give you my rebuttal, because for me, it was a terrible cameo, and that's fine. It's not fine, but it's fine by me in terms of sometimes you're going to be shit. Like, the best players have those moments. In terms of what Harry Kane's or Harry Winks' long-term future at Spurs is, or what his role is, it is very firmly a squad player. Again, we've seen this throughout our squad. Guys who are meant to be backups and who are able backups often get shifted into starting roles for Tottenham Hotspur and overstay their welcome in those roles. We saw it with Trippier, we've seen it with Davis, we've seen it with guys like Sanchez even, we've seen it with Dyer in various iterations, we've seen it with, did I say Ben Davis, Sissoko? The list goes on, do you get what I mean? Like, the Lamelas of the world have had spells of starts. For me, of that whole bunch, Harry Winks is the only one that ever deserved a spell in the team, because he's shown on the highest levels in starting teams that he can be proficient. We've never revisited the systems that suit Harry Winks.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
We've never really found a balance with Højbjerg and Ndombele and Winks to where Winks can even play in the role that he prefers. So for me, throwing him in extra time in a game that's already chaos and asking a guy that's been clearly had his confidence stripped from him by finding himself out of the team and having a few high-profile mistakes, of course he was going to be shit. Of course he was going to be shit, because we were shit as a team, and he's been shit for a couple of weeks now. So it was no surprise for me. I think it is harsh to say that he doesn't have a Spurs future. I just think we need to shuffle the pieces a little bit and maybe commit to giving him games in cup competitions and really like making him a firm squad option as opposed to having to lean on him throughout the course of the season.
Can I let me jump in quickly? I think one of my main problems with Winks at the moment is I don't know what he's trying to do in terms of how he, like, what is his philosophy, what's his style of play, what role is he playing. A lot of the time I really don't know where he's trying to fit in. I feel like he's trying to change his style a little bit. And I just don't know which direction he's going with it. Personally, I feel like there's a big difference in the Winks where I used to say that he definitely is the next big, no, not the next big thing, but I mean, like, in terms of a Spurs youth player who's going to be playing at the top level, it's going to be Winks. That's what I thought. He's going to be like our next sort of product. And I think it's really unfortunate that maybe that role in the team doesn't exist for him anymore. When I say, I don't mean he doesn't have a space in the team. I mean the role that he was good at, which was, for me, maybe it was a bit more sort of like being available in the middle, keeping the game ticking, being sort of moving around off the ball, making sure that someone's always got to pass on. And if he does get the ball, maybe he could play a quick one forward or a quick one sideways, whatever it was. But he seemed like he wanted to keep the game ticking. And it just feels like we don't play like that anymore. Like, we never want to hold the ball anyway. So he doesn't get to play to his strengths for me. And I don't know if anyone else sees that, or if anyone could tell me, like, where you think he's trying to be. Like, where is his future going to be? Like, what does he want to do at the moment?
Not to reinforce that, like under Pochettino, sorry, Teach. Obviously, there was just a clear plan, very, very detailed plan of obviously how we progress the ball, how we look to get on the ball, how we press, how we counter press. And Harry Winks is someone who, for me, I've played in this position numerous times in real life as well, who who likes to just follows those rules, and that's his kind of playbook as a kind of register in the team, to coin the term from Football Manager. I'd liken him to kind of that Jorginho type, who he does have the passing range as well, to like, as well as keep things ticking over. He can break lines with his passing. He can play forward thinking through balls. Like, I remember him getting a couple of assists just from quickly taking free kicks. Like, he is a progressive guy, but he needs to get into that rhythm of following the rules, or in his mind, his rules and that playbook of how the team's trying to play in a detailed fashion. So obviously under Mourinho now, he doesn't really have a real set of rules to follow. I think Mourinho, like you touched on there, he's looking to now be a kind of more robust box-to-box type player. So yeah, when a player is in the middle of reinventing himself, there's a period of suffering. I think Dele Alli's going through similar, where just before he started getting his injuries at the end of Pochettino's tenure, he was looking to operate as a deeper midfielder. So when you're reinventing yourself in that way, you are going to suffer for a while to make those mistakes, to make that adjustment. For me, I see Winks' future still playing his old role under Pochettino, or the role that he did play under Pochettino, and as a squad player for us. But like you said as well, I don't think that role is in the team. And so I think if Mourinho gets kept on next year, which, I mean, with the wages he's on, it's quite likely, then I would expect Winks probably to look to get first team football somewhere else where that role is for him.
Yeah. Harry Winks' future, I can summarize in 2 words, and that is Tom Carroll.
Wow.
Tom Carroll.
I said it.
I had to headshot my doggy.
I said
Hot
it.
take teacher, yeah.
I said it straight like that. I said it. But
That's a throwback.
I wouldn't go as far as saying Tom Carroll. I wouldn't go as far as saying. I just feel like I need to see the qualities that we all know he has. I need to see those qualities, and yes, absolutely, he's devoid of confidence. Rhythm is definitely out, and obviously as well, his role, like the style of player he's been, and the style of player that Mourinho employs his midfielders to be, there's a bit of a mismatch. I do get that. And yeah, absolutely. You know, you do get games at that level where you just have an off day. I just really want him to kind of question what he wants to do at Spurs moving forward. Like, because you can either be a absolutely solid squad player where you put in a performance X, Y, Z times of the season, or you're going to be a bit part player who doesn't really give a shit and plays whenever he plays, does a decent job, and keeps it stepping until next week. I know, like, people talk about like squad players wanting to push first team players so that they can get into the first team, but I don't know. I look at him and I don't see him being that type of mentality where he's thinking, what can I do to try get, I don't know, Tongi out of the team? What can I do to try and get Lo Celso? What can I do to try and get Højbjerg out of the team? That's why I'm always like, okay, what is he going to do moving forward? Because next season, we're going to have Skip coming back, in my opinion. And we're probably going to look to maybe improve on the Sissoko with maybe a Sabitzer or whoever we can get in that sort of central midfield. So then he gets pushed further down the pecking order. And then I'm thinking, okay, then if this is the case, what are we doing moving forward with him? That's more my mindset. I've never been downed on his qualities. I think he has qualities. But yesterday, it just drives home some of the ill feelings that I have. Like, now that we have players like Tongi, now that we have players like Højbjerg playing regularly, Lo Celso playing regularly, you know?
But that's why I say he's a Tom Carroll, because you look at our midfield at its best. Okay, cool. A squad player, I can understand the decision-making process behind that. And I can get the fact that he had some glory days under Poch where he was sitting next to Zoko and kept the ball ticking. That's cool. But that's not what we need. That's not what Tottenham Hotspurs need right now. Tottenham Hotspurs need players like Ndombele and Højbjerg. We don't need Harry Winks. That's the same as that's anyway. I don't want to bang on about it, but he's not doing anything for us that we need right now. Like we'll every time we talk about Harry Winks, we're talking about Pochettino. We can't live with the past. We can't live.
Do you know what? I think very good points have been raised on Winks, and like I feel like what we're talking about right now is like how circumstances have affected like the second string sort of members on our team, and how I guess their futures are gonna go. Like, are they looking to push on? Are they looking to push into the team? And just to kind of pivot slightly to the side, I think it'd be interesting if we touch on like maybe what the current circumstances do to maybe the people on the top end of our team, people like Kane and Son. Like, how is Kane feeling at the moment, in your opinion? Like, there were some interesting conversations earlier today across the Twitter, across the social medias, that led to sort of a poll where we were talking about legacy, and in particular, the legacy of Vardy and Kane. And I mean, I think the context was, regardless of what legacy means to you, I think it was who has the bigger legacy at the moment. Is it Kane or is it Vardy, in your opinion? I've got some strong opinions on this, so I'll let someone else go first.
Mate, just a disclaimer. If anyone wanted to see me rattled, you should have seen me on the voice noting. Oh my God. I was hot. I was hot. And neither one of the perpetrators are on today. But I'm no.
You know who you are. Name names.
Them boys, Spurs Unfiltered boys, or formerly Spurs Unfiltered boys.
Look, I mean, there was obviously a lot of debate, and the group chat, a lot of valid points raised from both sides. And as someone that's leaning, not fully off the fence, but leaning towards the other side, to your side and yourself, Zara, I think Tops and Teacher probably agree with you both as well. So I'm happy to play devil's advocate for this, but I just want to start by saying I don't correlate a player's talent towards their legacy. I would just argue, obviously, I feel like winning a huge title is a big factor in how people and even that players themselves see their legacy. And I disagree with one point. Like, a lot of people were saying that, people kind of bring up this argument and dig out Kane for stuff like this because it's Tottenham. Like, I feel like Harry Kane's someone that puts this pressure on himself. He's spoken about it loads of times. He idolizes Tom Brady. Is that his name? Super Bowl serial winner.
Yep.
And this guy is one of the GOATs in his sport, and I think that's where Harry Kane wants to see himself. But obviously he needs to win titles, and again, I do feel like he still can win a title at Spurs. However, at this current moment in time, he hasn't. Vardy was a key member of winning that title at Leicester, and obviously that was his breakout season in the Premier League. Obviously, he helped them stay up the season before, and he was a key figure in that too. But he played a more peripheral figure in the 15-16 season. He scored a lot of clutch goals when his team were against it. He broke Van Nistelrooy's goal-scoring record for consecutive games. I can't remember how many it was in the end. It was like 11, 12 plus.
12, yeah, it was 12, yeah.
Well, scoring a lot of important ones on the way to winning that trophy, and he's stayed at the higher level since, and this is going like 5-6 years consistently being one of the leading Premier League strikers. Harry Kane has, I'm sure he has more goals.
Harry Kane is in the top 10 Premier League goal scorers of all time.
Yep.
He's the only player that gets mentioned in the same breath as Rooney or Shearer, who are number 1 and number 2 in terms of potentially catching them. He's an England captain. He scored at every level of professional football, whether that's domestic, European, and international, and has a record that rivals literally everybody else. Let's call a spade a spade. You talk about Harry Kane, you talk about a world-class player. You talk about Jamie Vardy,
100.
you speak about a good goal scorer. That to me is the end of the conversation. You can't.
I would say Vardy's world class.
He's not.
At what though?
Vardy's not
As a
world class. Let's be
striker,
honest.
as a
Let's
striker.
be honest. All right.
Wait. One
Vardy
quick
is not
question.
world
One
class.
quick question. One quick question.
Young world class then.
Just one question though. How come Vardy doesn't need to leave to go and get more trophies? If he's world class, why is Vardy allowed to hide at Leicester? That's what I want to know.
I think he went to, I don't know why, but he wanted to join Arsenal. And I think a lot of teams just don't want to take him on now purely because of his age. Like he came into high level football late. I think I can't remember how old he was during that 15-16 season. But by the time Arsenal was signing, I'm sure he was already 31. I think he's, 34 now? So, I mean, I can't imagine. There was sniffs that Atletico Madrid were interested, but again, I think they would have just passed up on him because of his age.
In terms of his legacy, the most impressive components of it, and it is very much a Hollywood blockbuster type story, is moving through all the divisions of English football and capping it with a Premier League title, albeit the most random, fucking unmitigated Premier League title we've seen. So it's like, it's not a discredit type of thing. It's great in its own right, but to pit that against somebody who's vying for all-time greatest English striker type reputation, for me, is a little bit farcical. It's like, if Harry Kane did have a Premier League title, we wouldn't be speaking about him in the same realm as a flipping Jamie Vardy. We'd already put him in the conversations with the Henrys and them, man.
Rooney's, yeah.
By virtue of the fact that his talent befits that conversation. So for me, it's a non-starter, but when it's brought up, you address it and you keep it moving.
Again, I think it's where that's how subjective legacy is as well. Like, you can perceive legacy in different ways, and I attribute it. I lean towards kind of what you've won, as well as obviously the goal records and where your stature is in world football at the time. I just think, as it currently stands, when people look back on legacy, and again, like depending on how you define it, I'm looking on current status, looking back in 10 years, I think Vardy's is going to stand out just that little bit more.
Let's so I think Sai and Owen, you
it hurts to say, I've actually got a stitch saying that, but
all right, let me ask. I'm gonna give two scenarios now about legacy. Yeah? Harry Kane's legacy specifically. Fox and Peach, I want you to take one each in it. But what does Kane have to do to cement his legacy? A, if he stays at Spurs, and B, if he leaves Spurs. In fact, is there a difference? I don't know. But who wants to go first? Just pick one of them and go.
When you say his legacy, as a Premier League striker or as a striker?
Hey, for me, he's 30 already. Like I keep saying this. I think he's. I find it hard to have this conversation because I think the only reason you can talk about saying, for example, Harry Kane needs a Premier League is because you know he's amazing. Nobody's saying that. Like, do you get what I mean?
Say that about Karen Bent, bro.
Nobody's saying
about any of these other men. You wouldn't.
Nobody cares about anyone else. It's that simple. Nobody's saying Calvert-Lewin needs a Premier League to be in the conversation with Vardy. Like, you just don't care about Calvert-Lewin. And I think Calvert-Lewin is really good. Don't get it twisted. Like, I even think he's in the conversation with Vardy. I just don't think either of them are in the conversation with Kane. For me personally, what you achieve as a team, like if you win a cup as a team, that's all great, if you get what I mean. But I don't think that takes away from your ability as a player or your legacy as a player. I think there are players that, like, I can't think of a single player on earth that could win a Premier League and then I start thinking, oh, actually, he's good. I would have to see them first. Like, even Kante, I didn't care about Kante. It's not that I started caring about Kante because he won a league. Cared about Kante because he was killing it at Leicester. Then they won the league. Do you get what I mean? It's those are the things that mattered. Okazaki, why is nobody bringing him up? He won a league. He won the Premier League. No one cares. I think that's what it is. Like, people just bring. For me, this is the whooping stick. People just want to beat Spurs with it. Like, do you get what I mean? Stay in your pace. You guys need a trophy. Da, 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 da. But again, I think from Kane's point of view, maybe he sees it differently. Maybe he sees that he needs a trophy. So I mean, if Kane stays at Spurs, does he need to get a trophy to cement his legacy? Does he need to get the goals? Like, what is it? And if he leaves, what does he need to do? It's a hard question, I think.
I think I'll kind of like give like both. I think like first of all, I think he cemented his name as a world-class striker, so that whether he leaves Tottenham or not, I mean, if he was to leave Tottenham tomorrow, there would be 10 teams that would want to sign him. So I think his legacy as a world-class striker is always going to be there, especially in the Premier League, just because of the pure like the volume of his numbers based on how long he's been in the Premier League. I think at Tottenham, I feel like when you're talking about what he needs to do, it's kind of conflated, because the time that he's been at Tottenham has been similar sort of time that we haven't won a trophy. So you would just think any trophy would be enough for him to cement his legacy at Tottenham, because it's probably been X amount of years since we have. But I feel for him to be up there with, like, as we said, the Henrys, the Rooneys, them man, for me, it has to be a Premier League, purely because everybody knows the importance of being a player that can lead a team or that can be the front man for a team over a 38-game season. And that's the only reason why I feel people are like trying to even bring Vardy into it. One, because Vardy was in a team that wasn't expected to win the league, but two, his role in that winning season was so vital. You take Vardy out of that team, do they win the league? Based on how everyone else played? Maybe not.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I'll start by saying, for Harry Kane to further cement his legacy, if he stays at Spurs, I agree. I think he'll need to take home some silverware. I'm not 100% sure that it needs to be the Premier League, but it can't be some dead trophy. It needs to be some silverware of caliber. If he doesn't stay at Spurs, then I think all he needs to do is just secure himself as the Premier League best goal scorer. So beat the likes of, who is it, Alan Shearer?
Shearer with 260.
And what's Kane on? 200 probably? Something circa that.
He's on 156 or something.
156,
like that.
Yeah. In like 280 games, something like that? Or two.
Shearer did also win the league title.
He did. Shearer left to win his one, didn't he? Or did he win at Newcastle?
He won it at Blackburn.
Blackburn.
Yeah.
And then went to his local team.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's 100% vital that Kane has to win the Premier League in order for everyone to unanimously say he's got a fantastic legacy. I think if he does the Premier League goal record, which I think he's got his eyes set on and is very, very achievable for him, then I think that's enough, in my opinion, to take it beyond contention. I guess it just begs the question: does he stay at Spurs? I mean, to be honest, if you take the view that Harry Kane needs to win the Premier League at Spurs for him to cement his legacy, then realistically, that's got to be done soon, because he's only getting older. And do you know what I mean? Like, you mentioned Tom Brady earlier being someone that he idolizes. Like, he'll recognize that internally and just think, you know what, if it's not happening here, it needs to happen somewhere else. That's my biggest worry. And then we start all over again. So, yeah, I'm blessed with Harry already. That whole Jamie Vardy, Harry Kane argument, yeah, for me, that's a joke thing anyway. Yeah. I know you ain't Vardy in that one. For me, nah, man, I can't even talk too much on that one. But for me, yeah, man, he needs to carry on scoring his goals, beat Alan Shearer, and then I think there's no debate. There's no question.
For me, I just want to say as well, I do think Harry Kane has an exceptionally good legacy. I think it is currently still great. I just think for it to be generational, I think like one of those big titles, whether it be Champions League, Premier League, whether it be an international trophy with England, that can plateau him to being that kind of GOAT status for his time striker.
But that to me is the defining factor. We're basically saying in order for him to be amongst the GOATs, these are the things he needs to do. So if we were to checklist all the items, like say this is like your created character on FIFA or some shit. You got your checklist, you make your first start, you score your first goal, you get to the landmark goals, you get the golden boot, all of that shit. He's literally done every single one of them, except win titles. If he adds titles to what he's done, England captain, golden boot winner in a World Cup, numerous golden boots in the Premier League, scoring records in the Champions League in terms of reaching goal milestones in the quickest time and all of that shit. We're talking about an all-time great striker. So I don't want to hear nothing about Vardy because he's hardly in the conversation for the best in the fucking Premier League, let alone the best of his era. So it's like,
that's true. That's true.
shit, man. We're talking about a potentially all-world, all-time great talent versus Jamie Vardy.
It's so deep when you say that.
No, I totally hear what Sai's saying. I totally hear it, man.
Same, like, it is a good point. It was just one of those things where, like, it's a rich thing to say, like, oh, this is what I expect him to do for him to be seen in a certain way. But I mean, again, like, I think this is how he would describe it himself, and that's how he would see himself. And I think if you would ask him, you know, how would you want to cement your legacy to be that high status of striker, he would say he would want to win a huge title as well. So it's one of those things.
No, agree, definitely agree. And just hit us up on the Spurs Touchline Twitter as well. If you want to get involved in the debate, hit up the poll as well. I think Sai's got like a click farm working.
A few bots on the job still.
Some mine Bitcoin, some mine Harry Kane legacy votes. Just saying.
So nice, man. Yeah. Make sure you follow everyone on the socials. Catch up on the Discord as well. We've got the live games. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. It's been a great show, man. Take care.
Blessings.
Cheers,
Take care.
brothers.
Bless.
Let's.